Death is swept under the carpet in our culture. In the hospital, they try to keep you alive utter desperation. They won't take the nose and mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody in church forever. try to keep you alive from utter desperation. They won't know the mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody wants to be in church forever. think about. Death is swept under the carpet in our country. In the hospital, they try to keep you alive from utter desperation. They won't take the mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. Nobody wants to be in church forever.
Mics are hot now.
Yes!
Hey everyone, we're plus size park hoppers and this is our beach outfit of the day. I am wearing a bathing suit from Amazon and my water shoes are also from Amazon. My sunglasses are from Shop Disney. The bathing suit is from Amazon. The bottoms I borrowed from Katie because I forgot mine at home. They're Halara Active Skirt and the sunglasses are from Amazon. My top is from Torrid, my skirt is from Torrid and my belly sunburn is from the beach. My top is from Old Navy and my bottoms are from Torrid. And they've got this little side piece baggie that I love.
I'm Michael. My bathing suit and glasses are from Amazon and my hat's from Spain.
My top is from Swimsuits for All on Amazon. My bottoms are Old Navy Power Soft. And my sunglasses are from Costco Prescription. Sarah! Woo! You're next. You did it. Okay, I got it.
No wonder Clint was at the beach all weekend with his girlfriends. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we will be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest news developing right now as we have some crazy Dr. Fauci testimony. Biden is planning mass amnesty. Mexico has a new woman president. Trump just raised $200+ million as there's crazy attacks in Europe happening while news organizations are being shut down here in the United States. What's really going on? Well, we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this podcast episode for the next 2 hours. So please share it with your friends and family members. It does really mean a lot to us since, YouTube definitely has been giving us the business, and we are predominantly here because of you guys getting these videos out there to your friends and family members and being a part of a larger network that truly is able to get a lot of the very important information out there. You guys also get to participate in the conversation, and one easy way to do that is to simply sign up to lukeunfiltered.com. When you do that, you get the ability to call in to the show. Last week, we had an incredible caller that we had to clip and share around everywhere. Solid snake with some solid questions and jokes, and we appreciate him calling in. Will you be that caller today? Well, you can. Right now, if you just sign up to lukeunfiltered.com, you go to the Telegram channel, you let me know you want to call in. As of right now, we do not have a caller. We have Keith in the chat room saying, "Is that Clint's harem?" Yes, that was Clint's harem. What you just saw there.
They look beautiful in those tarps. I don't know what you guys are talking about. They look great.
They're beautiful, bodacious tarps.
Anybody else laugh every time you hear the store name Torrid?
Torrid?
It's the first I've heard of it.
It's a plus-size clothing company. And
of course, you would know about that.
Yeah, no, I do because I saw
That's
it.
where he goes to pick up his chicks.
Well, yeah, that's where I found those beautiful ladies, obviously. But yeah, it's TORRID, and it's just perfect. It just makes me laugh every time. Anyways, keep going.
So yeah, be the caller in about an hour and a half from now by becoming a member. Another way that you could participate in the conversation is by using mysuperchat.com, and your super chats actually get to show up on screen. If you super chat over $100, there's going to be a Canadian school teacher and their bazunkas inflating and exploding on screen. So we definitely like you guys using mysuperchat.com, since of course it's not a YouTube super chat that takes 30% of the revenue. Mysuperchat.com 3%, and that's a big difference. So we appreciate any and all super chats and my super chats. So just check out the links in the description below. As of course, joining us for this conversation is Drianna. Drianna, for the people who don't know who you are, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Drianna Sixto. It's an honor to be here on the show. So I am a Miami native, Latina, Cuban-American, 30-year-old woman that has been doing nothing but working in full-time grassroots politics for most of my 20s with the organization Turning Point USA, the C3. We're just in that organization trying to mobilize, educate the youth in conservative politics and ideology, and now I'm with Turning Point Action, a C4 organization, and our main priority is saving the Republican Party so then we can save America and really just elect Republican candidates and do not get beat out this November. And we have a strategy for that, which maybe we can talk about later.
No, it's going to be great talking to you about that, since a lot of people are kind of asking the question, what are the Republicans going to do? How are we going to beat out the Democratic Party? So we'll talk about that. You also have a crazy story with the FBI too. So we'll hopefully get into all of it. Clint has been very busy over the weekend. I mean, he's been working overtime on those big ladies.
Dude, those plus-size Disney broads are taxing, to put it mildly. By the way, I figured out why it's funny to me. Torrid, it sounds like horrid and tear, like your clothing tore, but then you also look horrid, so you go to torrid. Anyways, Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown at Liberty Lockpod on X. If you want to follow me, if you want to subscribe and support my work, I will follow you back. Liberty Lockdown on all of the platforms. That's where you find me. I also do Tower Gang, which you should never ever watch. And we got Ian Crossland to my right, the sexy, fasting beast of a human being.
Who just extinguished and expelled a lot of the demons and bad stuff from his gut that he showed again. Clint, and Clint is still traumatized. But
I learned my lesson.
We kidnapped Ian. We're not giving him back, and we are radicalizing him.
Filthy lies. Hi, everybody. I'm Ian Crossland. I am an actor and a musician and a tech entrepreneur. I'm glad to be here. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this, Drianna. I want to go deep on On basically voter fraud, potential fraud, and open sourcing software code, all these things. Maybe we'll get into it later in the episode. I don't know, but I'm happy you're here. So thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
If we're talking about like the fraud stuff, we're probably going to have to save it.
Yeah, 'cause I wanna
for
go
the other
unleashed on that
platform,
stuff.
and so that conversation probably will happen in about an hour from now. There's also crazy news coming out of Germany. Can't even talk about that, but we're not going to be showing you the video because it's too kind of horrific and crazy. But anyway, in related. Expelling demons and fasting news. Steph is also here.
Hi, everyone. This is Steph. We are Change, ready to push the buttons.
And maybe there'll be more poop talk from Steph and
No.
Ian.
One
later on today.
can hope.
One could hope.
I'm
As of
definitely
course-
open to that, Stephanie.
so-
I mean, I have some people asking about the cleanse in my DMs, so
Let's
if you
get
have
into it.
questions
It's next
about
level.
any health kind of things and how my experience was, you can ask me. I'm not shy.
DM Steph right now, and she will send you photos of her feces.
That's not true. I'm not going to
for
do that.
$5.99.
Oh.
There's a market for everything nowadays, apparently.
The Germans are calling
All right,
in right
all
now.
right.
The Germans.
Maybe Steph won't do it, but Ian will. I have that on good authority.
I got a new phone, and I was going through my photos, and it's like photos of my food and photos of my feces back. It's so gross. I need to offload these pictures somehow.
Before and after.
Yeah.
Steph, you got to do the buttons.
Oh.
Anyway, let's get into in other related turd news. We have the testimony of Dr. Fauci, who is now testifying in front of Congress that are kind of asking him some very serious questions, and he looks like he is doubling down, tripling down on many of the lies that he told the American public. As of course, this is the kind of main news story that everyone's talking about right now. To me, I'm still shocked. I'm still kind of perplexed at his testimony, at the questions he's being asked under oath. And still, he has the chutzpah, he has the gall to lie to the American people, especially when it comes to gain of function research work that, if you talked about during the beginning of this entire larger health scandal that plagued the entire world, you would be automatically censored. Something that, of course, was coordinated, organized by top levels of the government that were involved in the larger gain of function work. But, of course, there's been a long hours amount of testimony that Dr. Fauci gave. This was one specific portion of it that the Daily Mail decided to highlight, with him tearing up because of alleged threats that he gets. Here's a small clip of it that I want to play.
Dr. Fauci, can you please share with us the nature of the threats you have received since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, there have been everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters. There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats mean someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. And it's required my having protective services essentially all the time. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
Now, I think a lot of us are on social media. You're on social media. You get harassed. You get death threats. I have received multiple amount of death threats, and a lot of people are saying, well, why do people hate him so much? Why are people angry with Dr. Fauci so much? Gee, I wonder why. I can't pinpoint it. What about you guys?
I mean, he was just doing his best. I mean,
Yeah.
he is the science, and we had to listen to the science. And I felt like, the science doesn't lie. So obviously, he was just trying to do the righteous thing for
Did he
all of his
literally
career.
say, "I am the science" at one point?
Yes.
Yeah, he said, if you're doubting me, you're doubting the science because I am the science. And then he was asked about that today, and he said, I just want to clarify. And then he basically said it again in a different way. And I was like, this guy is just such a raging narcissist, and he drives me insane. I basically can't talk about this man without us getting booted off this platform. So I'm just going to
We have a special segment of the testimony he said for the next platform, where he got into this thing, that we can't talk about here on this particular broadcast. But it's absolutely kind of infuriating because that's the topic. Okay. We all get death threats. We all get harassed. I don't know about you guys, but this is just the lay of the land of the internet. It's not good. We shouldn't normalize this. We shouldn't condone it. But we should also say, Yeah. Okay. Cool. But you're getting threatened by some people. But in reality, you destroyed the lives of millions and millions of people. You destroyed people's businesses. You destroyed their health. You destroyed their personal well-being. There should at least be some kind of legal accountability here, when it comes to saying, "Hey, I got it wrong. I'm sorry. I messed up." None of that. This is another Chris Como moment, doubling down, saying, I did nothing wrong. I'm totally innocent here. We didn't do any gain of function research here, as of course you just play around with the definitions, just like they changed the definition of this thing that we can't bring up on frickin' YouTube as well.
Yeah,
so
it was October 21. They changed the definition for GOF, gain of function. And prior to that, it would have, what they were doing in Wuhan would have classified easily, like to the letter, it would have classified. And then they modified it. They made it a much more complicated definition. By the way, I watched 3 hours of this testimony today. I have no life, obviously. But with my show being named Liberty Lockdown, like, it's very important I understand this stuff in and out. I've been studying this for 3+ years straight now. I know for a fact this man is lying to the American people. I know for a fact. So I am beyond upset.
What the left is really good at and has been good at over the years is changing the definition of things.
Yes, indeed.
Even from the conception of what being a liberal means outside of the United States.
if you can't bring the mic just a little bit higher up.
Being a liberal means being on our side, being somebody that believes in liberty and freedom and conservative values overall. But they have appropriated so much grammar that means the opposite of what they actually stand for.
Right.
And then they change the definition of things.
Liberal used to be like a good thing. I used to consider myself a liberal when it was a classical liberal. I was like, yeah, that's about what I am. And now I'm like, I wouldn't be caught dead with someone calling me a liberal at this point.
And now we don't know men, women, the definition of that.
Right.
Like, yeah.
I think a liberal is an adjective and conservative is an adjective. I don't know at what point people started saying I am a adjective.
Yeah.
Like I am a pretty, I am a hungry. Like, so I don't know. This classification thing is disconcerting.
I mean, I think it's good evidence of how everything's become so politicized that we actually identify like I am a Republican, I am a Libertarian, I am a Democrat, same thing, liberal.
Versus having conservative values, liberal values.
Right.
Like John Locke, liberalism, classical liberalism.
There's so many different, there's so many different sub-classifications, but the left has been really good at, for example, claiming that they're Democrats. So especially for people that come, I'm Latina, I'm Cuban, for people that come from outside of the country and are starting to learn about the two-party system in the United States are like, oh, Democrats, they must be for democracy, right? And they believe in that, and Republicans are something else, and they might be for the rich. So it's very easy to I actually had this this was when I was in middle school, so way back in the day. We used to have to write down like the news of the day, obviously very left-wing bias. The history teacher was extremely left-wing, and he would say, guys, what do the Republicans stand for? What are the 3 R's? Rich, religious, Republican. That's what they stand for. And this was in middle school before we started to think that we were starting to be brainwashed in our schools. This has been going on for a very long time. It's just that.
Can I ask where that public school was?
This was Henry H. Feiler Middle School.
What? But like, where's that at?
Oh, Hialeah.
Oh,
I'm a Hialeah.
So it's close. All right.
Yes,
I just wanted to know where it was at.
It was close by. And so, things like that. It's just that the right has ignored academia for a very long time because, let's be honest, the right conservatives were doers. We're busy creating things, running businesses, creating things that are practical in life. And the left finds a home in academia because all they have to talk about is theory. When in reality, if they lost their job the next day, the majority of them would be only qualified to work at a fast food restaurant or drive for Uber.
Or Starbucks.
But they have sheltered themselves there.
I think this is such an important point because I have definitely noticed this. I was running for vice president of the United States under the Libertarian Party. And what I've realized is like even the Libertarian Party is not entirely, but largely controlled by the types of folks that you're describing, like people that are much more kind of bureaucratic, nanny state oriented. Like, not that they would necessarily prescribe the nanny state, but like they thrive in the monotony and the mundane of being some little overlord of their little fiefdom. And it's the same thing across all political parties. I'm not singling out the Libertarian Party. I'm just saying I'm surprised it was also there. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. And then academia, it's like, yeah, of course you're going to be more interested in that because you still get to control people. Whereas, like, in my opinion, libertarians, free market people, even most Republicans, like, they're like entrepreneurial. They're like, let's go build, let's go make something.
And
Just
I'm not
different
saying there's
worldview.
bad. I'm not saying every
No, of course.
educator is bad or left wing either. But
It's a
I mean,
big
when
percentage.
the percentage is over 95%, you know, in colleges and universities and public schools and even charter schools and all of that, there's a very clear pattern. And so we have to kind of analyze like why exactly that is and know it and take back those spaces. And that's
It's hard though,
Yeah.
because like I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I don't want to actually control. I don't want to be in charge of anybody. So that's really tough because then you only end up with people that want to control people in those roles, and I
Well-
don't know how you remedy that.
Well, I think Ron
Yeah.
DeSantis did a good job getting involved in local school board elections and saying enough of this woke stuff. Hey, you're not going to teach children this perverted stuff. You're not going to teach them how to can't even say do what. You're not going to show them what. You're not going to pervert them. You're not going to brainwash them. And I think he did an effective job saying, hey, these are the people that are not going to destroy your children.
Yeah, and also added a law specifically to make sure that students know about the history of communism and its effects. So there is a day dedicated to learning about that, and it's part of the curriculum in like Florida schools where they have to teach what it has done, the lives that it has affected and killed.
Think about how crazy that is that you
Yeah.
have to tell your teachers to teach about the
I'm
evils
also,
of communism.
As a shameless plug, I'm also part of the Miami Young Republicans, and they helped move and push that kind of legislation because obviously a lot of Miami Young Republicans come from a background of those countries that have suffered at the hands of socialist and communist governments like Cuba, Venezuela, Central American countries. And so that's why it's so important and such a focus so that it doesn't happen here too.
No, I love the Cubans here. I definitely get along with them more than I do kind of anybody else because we have that same kind of history of going through communism and understanding just how absolutely ruthless and evil it is and how idiotic it is to think that someone could have control of your life and somehow make the right decisions for you as an individual, which is absolutely insane.
Their food's not as good as Mexicans, though.
Cuban food?
Sorry, Cubans. Shots fired.
I will have to take you to a few places.
All right.
Yeah, although
we'll see. I grew up in San Diego, so I'm biased.
I went to what's that famous place here? Versailles?
Versailles. I
Versailles?
cannot say anything negative about that place because that is a landmark for us. But I will say there are so many mom and pop and smaller places that aren't like the most widely known that have fantastic Cuban food as well.
We ate there.
I went to the very widely known one. And then as I was there over the weekend, there was like a little truck caravan with a bunch of people with Trump flags just honking and a huge megaphone.
That's the meetup spot.
And I was like, yeah, man, this is Miami. This is I love to see this rather than BLM riots.
Luke Josie and I went to Versailles after the Cuomo Dave Smith debate. And let me tell you, that food is good. I got to take it back.
That wasn't that. That wasn't that
was
place.
it?
No, that wasn't it. That was the random Brazilian place we went to.
Oh, well, then I'm lying again. I take everything back. Whatever. Let's move on.
But in related testimony with Dr. Fauci, it looks like Jim Jordan might have successfully trapped Dr. Fauci under lying under oath. And this is the 22nd moment that a lot of people are sharing around right now, saying that this could get Dr. Fauci in some hot water.
Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
Well, look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
All right, I yield back.
And I reckon
Jim Jordan definitely seems very entertained by that very specific moment. But of course, the lab leak theory was something that you couldn't say on social media. News organizations that did had their entire institutions, their entire organizations taken down on big tech social media. Zero Hedge being one of the biggest kind of news organizations out there that kind of dared to talk about this, released the articles, released the kind of circumstantial strong evidence. They didn't even come out that strongly with it. They said, hey, there's a big chance that this sickness came from the factory that was working and producing this very same exact sickness. And then the corporate media and then social media and then the federal government kind of came out all in one and said, blasphemy, you're crazy, you're insane, you're a conspiracy theorist. And in reality, that's probably exactly where it came from, because there's no way a guy shoved a bat in his mouth and then bada bing, bada boom, you have freaking a global sickness spreading all around the world.
Luke, it wasn't a bat, it was a pangolin.
Pangolin, yeah.
That's what they said for the longest time. Look, yeah, I mean, anybody that was paying attention, I was very much paying attention during the summer of 2020 because I was trapped in my effing house. So why wouldn't I pay attention? Yeah, that was the obvious. Like, as soon as you realized there was a level 4 like bio research facility that was just miles away from the outbreak, it was the natural conclusion. And instead of just putting it on the table as a potentiality, they immediately told you that you were a conspiracy theorist, racist, lunatic if you were to even postulate it. And now, today, Anthony Fauci is asked point blank, is that a conspiracy theory? And he says, absolutely not. That's what he says. He says, no, it's certainly a possibility. He's still trying to lean away from it because I think that if it is from there, then he is in very, very hot water. But he has now put it back on the table. Hopefully we can talk about it here honestly, but it should have never been off the table. It is an absolute travesty. We might have actually been able to save countless lives had we known early on, but instead they buried it. And that is unforgivable on a level that I can't even
not just buried it, but
describe.
punished anyone from even discussing it, from even talking about it. Fauci, promoted scientific papers that essentially said, no, this is all natural origin. We haven't investigated it. We haven't found out exactly what's happening. We haven't sent investigators down there. The Chinese government is not complying. They're not giving us access to the laboratory or even to the wet market. But just trust us. We know right away exactly where it came from. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
By the way, two of those authors, 3 days before that article came out, in email said to Fauci that they thought it was probably from that lab.
Yeah, and that information was suppressed.
And then they signed off on that very article that says it was definitely not. So look, if you think that they just 180'd in 72 hours without any conversations with Anthony Fauci, okay. But I would call you the conspiracy theorist, not me.
Yeah, especially the guy who literally signed off on the gain of function research with Echo Health Alliance, connected with the intelligence agencies, connected with Peter Daszak. Are you kidding me? They had the blueprints. They had the work. They had everything they needed to, of course, tell the scientific world, hey, this is what we're dealing with here. And then scientists were left with no information, no data, not even the ability to have a real and honest conversation about this thing, which, in my opinion, killed a lot of people. Because if we knew, hey, this is the gene sequence that has AIDS in it, this is the gene sequence that has all the horrible things that were jam-packed into this bioweapon, hey, maybe this is a way that we could actually deal with this. Maybe there's a way that we could actually roll this back. Maybe there's an antidote that we could think of when we know exactly what we're dealing with what was created in this laboratory. Nope. None of that. And therefore, to me, this is bigger than a lot of people make it out to be, because this is a deliberate attempt to take lives, because you could have saved lives with the right information. They made sure you never got the right information. They established, in my opinion, a eugenics operation that took the lives of countless of numbers of people all around the world when they could have helped, and they did everything in their power to make sure that they couldn't.
What's worse is that there's evidence, proof that the administration collaborated with social media and big tech to censor any kind of talk of this, right? Like
including CDC and NIH.
Yeah, and that is what I think is really like the craziest part, because even between ourselves, let's say there's something at home that might have worked for somebody, just, even if I'm not a doctor, I can maybe say freely what worked for me. Just like if I have a cold, I can tell my friend, hey, I took this, I took that, I drank this kind of juice, whatever. Just suggesting anything without having some kind of authority was pretty much prohibited. And even those that did have PhDs and doctorates after their name that were actual doctors were censored from having any opinion that was not one that was okay by the administration.
And mind you, in that period,
Mm-hmm.
Fauci and the entire regime was telling us that they had basically nothing for you. They had no answers whatsoever. So in that void where you ought, like, everyone's just trying to stay alive, because I want you to like put your mind and your emotions back in that period. People were genuinely scared to death.
Myself included.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Here, I have been trying desperately to find videos of the things that I saw at the beginning of this whole outbreak. I remember seeing specifically a video of like bodies being dumped in like a mass grave. Yep. I remember the video
Italy
of
a
video of a little boy that said that every time that he breathed in, it felt like there was glass shattering in his lungs. And that's like, oh shoot, this is a thing that makes your lungs feel like there's glass shattering within your lungs. Do you guys remember that? And so I was one of those people that were like, okay, so this is real. We need to protect ourselves. The N95s are the only realistic thing that protects against viruses, and every other mask does not protect. It's not like good enough for it. So how do I make a regular like surgical mask into an N95 mask? And I was out here with like rubber bands, putting them outside, like my mouth, tying them to my ears, and like trying to do that because then it would like seal the sides and actually make it effective. Like people were actually, scared for their lives at the beginning of it. And then I think relatively quickly, it was obvious that there was more to it than just like an outbreak. And it seemed more like a brain outbreak or like
a mind virus. And personally, I was freaking out too, because for like 15 years, I've been warning about deliberate release of bioweapons. I was like, they're going to deliberately make something in a lab. They're going to release it to the general public. And then I saw them saying, oh, don't wear a mask. It's totally fine. Show up to the Chinese Day Parade. Yeah, show your love to Asians. Hug an Asian. I'm like, this is crazy. They released the bioweapon, and YouTube literally took down a video that I had, I think was it 12 years ago, with me and David Icke literally talking about this same exact scenario, and they got it down because of medical misinformation related to, of course, 3 years ago, which is crazy. Steph, pull out Telegram and let's start reading some of the Streamlabs if you're ready to do that. But Clint, you had something to say. Steph, get ready.
Yeah, well, she does that. What the point I was trying to make is that in that void, when they basically had nothing to offer people, like they were just telling people, like, don't go to the hospital. Like that's what they said early on, because they like,
told
don't
that to
overwhelm
Tim.
it.
I remember being with Tim. I'm like, Tim, I got some horse dewormer for me. He was like, I don't want it. He's like, I'm feeling bad. I'm gonna go to that. I'm gonna call the hospital. And the hospital was like, yeah, if you're gonna turn blue, show up, but otherwise stay away.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, take the horse dewormer.
But
he's
if
like, no.
If you're turning blue, it's potentially too late. So like
Yeah.
that was terrible advice. My point is, like, they're suppressing what you were talking about, any sort of word of mouth of like, hey, my aunt got it. She looked like she was on death's door. We gave her XYZ. She recovered. Maybe you want to try that. Maybe you want to, like, these are the types of things that if you actually allow for decentralized problem solving, you might come up with some solutions. But they didn't want that because they only wanted you to have one pathway out, and I can't even say what it is, but we all know what it is, and I just think it's pure evil.
Well, they wanted you afraid, and they wanted for you to, do,
Right.
what. Steph, go ahead.
We have Clint's Toasty Nuts saying, hola, amigos.
Thank you, Clint Toasty Nuts. Great.
I had no idea
I
that they
appreciate
could
it.
speak, that they were sentient.
Toasty.
We also have Bad Jokes 66 saying, Luke, put out $100 bounty to whoever can have a better roast for Clint than Solid Snake. Liberty Lockdown, more like BBW Lockdown. I'll take my money in Dogecoin.
That's a great. My super chat. Go. You're giving me some good ideas, and I think we might have to implement that. I agree with you.
BBW Lockdown. You can find me on YouTube.
Read the YouTube super chats, please, Steph. And great idea. I'll think of something, and it might be a big giveaway. So go ahead.
Goodness.
Andrew Jacobs says, Dave spanked Como like Clint spanked Peterson.
You spanked Peterson?
Which Peterson?
Austin?
Oh yeah,
Peters?
You debated Peterson?
Yeah, on Spaces with Josie months ago.
Okay.
Months ago.
Okay, yeah. Go
We
ahead.
also have Red Viking saying Denmark's Fauci Soren Brostrom got a job in WHO. Clown face.
Huh. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. Oh, we have the redheaded libertarian saying it was Argentinian food and it was amazing.
I defer to Josie. She knows what she's talking about.
I'm a liar. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Clint was totally wrong.
I was like, man, this Cuban food's actually pretty good. It's Argentinian. Sorry, Cuban food's still down bad.
I thought it was Brazilian.
Follow
so
the
I got it totally wrong.
Argentinian food is great for the record too.
Yeah.
Like their steaks.
Their steaks are legit.
Yeah.
Their steaks are pretty legit here. As of course, we also have this clip from today's testimony from Dr. Fauci with him saying, "No, gain of function. No, we didn't do any of that."
According to the regulatory and operative definition of P3CO, the NIH did not fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
What a lying scumbag.
You're saying they
And
changed the definition, and I was quoting a different definition?
NIH literally changed the definition in November of 2021. They changed the definition of gain of function from what he could have never denied it using the older definition, but they changed it. And if you think he wasn't involved in that change, you're tripping. So he tried to give himself an out, a linguistic out, but it doesn't change the reality of what they were doing, which is what makes this even more infuriating because it's just gaslighting.
Yeah, he was very specific with that response, which is infuriating. This is not what the American people want right now. There's so much pain and there's so much suffering that was caused by his failed policies. Admit you were wrong and at least apologize. But it seems like he's there just trying to piss you off, just trying to add insult to injury. And I think MTG really hit the nail on the head here, as she didn't hold anything back when speaking directly to Dr. Fauci. This is what she had to say. And then I want to ask you guys what should be the kind of punishment that Dr. Fauci should go through.
You know, that what this committee should be doing, we should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
Yep, and that's what a lot of people believe. Tim Pool asked Donald Trump, hey, will you actually hold Dr. Fauci accountable for what he did? Trump kind of evaded that answer here, but the question is pretty severe. What should happen to Dr. Fauci? I think minimally, I think he should have the top paying salary that he was paid during this whole health emergency just be taken away. You don't deserve it. You failed. You didn't do a good job. You clearly sent out mixed messages. You clearly didn't help out the people. You clearly implemented policies that hurt a lot of people. Second, we need actual deposition testimony to what happened here, declassification. Let's get into your private email that you were using, as you were supposed to be using a government one, but you Hillary Clinton'd it, and you were literally using private emails to have communications that a lot of people still don't know exactly what was really going on. And I think bare minimum, we need a proper investigation. We need to find out exactly what happened here. And unless this happens, there's going to be a repeat of what we saw in 2020. That's not a joke. There's no kidding about this.
How many proper investigations do we need? Like, I feel like there's a list of proper investigations we need.
Well, it's much worse than even what Luke's describing, and he's describing something very bad. One of his top advisors, one of the top guys, even though Fauci denied that he was an advisor, but he worked with Fauci for like 20 years. And this guy has his emails through FOIA were released, and in it he's saying, we know better than to email each other anything that could get us in hot water. And he is very explicit that he was hand delivering things like, and it sounded as if this was a structural plan that like anything that was possibly would get them in trouble in terms of gain of function or the lab or any of that, they were hand delivering to one another. So we will never know the truth. That's the sad reality of it. But to just a quick answer as to what the punishment ought to be. Look, I'm not really like, my concern is not Anthony Fauci. My concern is that we have a structural breakdown where there is the potential for gain-of-function research on viruses that can ultimately destroy the world. You have to get that under control. Whether Fauci does the rest of his life in prison or not is really secondary to my concerns. I want a legitimate prosecutor to investigate not just this man, but this entire apparatus. Why did this happen? How did it happen? Why does it continue to happen? Like, these are the things that we need answers to much more than I'm concerned about whether or not Anthony Fauci.
Well, it was the Patriot Act. After 2001, the Patriot Act explicitly wrote that you could do gain of function, you could weaponize bioweapons. It's totally fine. We won't punish anyone for it. So I think a reversal on that would be key. Number one.
But it happened.
Yeah.
It happened under Barack Obama. They forbid it, and then Fauci migrated that work overseas to circumvent.
Well, Obama temporarily paused it.
Right.
And then re-engaged it.
Did he?
Yeah. So there was only a temporary pause by Barack Obama.
Well, my understanding was that's the reason it was outsourced. That's also, a lot of people believe that may have been an impetus for the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. You can connect the dots as to why that might be the case. There's just so much dirt to this, and it's like we don't have even MTG, and I respect her. In fact, she just retweeted me tweeting out that video saying MTG spoke for all of us today. And she just retweeted that, so it makes me feel bad to be critical of her. But look, she's saying we ought to be, gearing up to bring charges against you. Why aren't you? Why? Who?
We do need a proper accountability system. That I feel if everything goes right after November and we get this country back from the hyenas that have taken it over, we need to restore faith in the criminal justice system and know that bad people actually, we take accountability into mind and into consideration, because right now I feel like that is what's the biggest destabilizer, the fact that we're seeing this country turn into a third world country. And you mentioned Argentina and Cuba, we're comparing just food between those countries. Well, guess why their steaks are great? Because it's illegal as a Cuban to own a cow and kill it and eat your steak. The only kind of steak or beef that you can buy is from the government. So if you decide to, as a farmer, and this is kind of where we're going, if you decide to, as a farmer, raise cattle, if you kill your own cattle, you go to jail. For 20 years, you could go to jail. So
in Argentina today, that's still?
No, in Cuba
today.
Oh,
Cuba,
still.
okay.
And there's people in prisons because of this.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm automatically thinking about that video from Venezuela where there was a cow and these hungry people just literally started butchering it when it was still alive in the middle of the street just so they could eat.
Wow.
That's the image that automatically comes to my mind when it comes to communism and
North Korea is like that with rice. If you eat your rice, all the rice goes to the government, as far as I know. You know what? I look at this whole thing as a secret weapons program, like the Manhattan Project, but it's a bioweapons program. So I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm getting into the mind of the other so you can understand why. So that's how you can combat the system, is to understand why people are doing what they're doing. And if the U.S. government's not involved in secret biological weapons programs, then other countries will be, and they'll annihilate us. So we have to allow our government to have a secret bioweapons program. And they've created plausible deniability.
They have nuclear weapons, Ian. What other deterrents do they need?
What's the question?
I mean, they already have nuclear weapons. Why do you need deterrence of these bioweapons on top of it?
And
because it's a silent killer.
And one of the things that kind of questions your theory is that the United States essentially worked with China on this.
Plausible deniability.
So when they're working together, it's not like that country's a threat. They're going to do that. We're doing it together.
The U.S. is supposed to be the righteous one, so they're pretending that by outsourcing the weapons program. But ultimately, they're working with the Chinese government, it seems like, to get on the level so we have the best biological weapons on Earth.
The really remarkable thing is, too, under direct inquiry, Anthony Fauci was asked, can you know? Because he was arguing that the grant to EcoHealth ultimately could not have been the progenitor to SARS, COVID-19. But he then, under direct inquiry, was like, well, what about, do you know everything that they were working on at this lab? Could you have possibly known all of the progenitors to all of the viruses that they were working on? And he's like, no, of course I can't know that. Okay, then why are you sending millions of dollars to a Chinese biolab if you can't actually make sure that that's not what's happening? And it's like, well, the obvious answer is that they're working together. I think that's obvious. I really do.
I have a personal theory as to why this whole thing started, and it definitely has to do with, the whole depopulation agenda, the climate agenda, where you have too many people on Earth, whatever. I feel like back maybe a few decades ago, the issue was that there weren't enough people in the labor force, and that's why especially the U.S. government got involved into making sure that women joined the workforce, gave them options to do that. And because we didn't have AI, we didn't have a lot of automation, which has taken care of a lot of those jobs that used to exist before. And now recently they're like, oh shoot, we have all these people in the workforce. They are going to not be able to make a living because AI is going to replace a lot of that. So what happens when people are poor and don't have a way to make money and are unneeded in the workforce? They get restless, right? So they need a way to bring back down those levels of the population and re-regulate it. And I think that's why this whole thing really happened.
I used to think that was such a crazy idea, and now I'm like, no, that sounds
that's
probable.
That's my personal opinion.
It's an interesting
theory,
supposition, because ultimately, if
but what do I know?
Because the people, restless young men that don't have jobs, will go to war. They'll create war. So this is like would be another option to war.
Which is funny, because war is the way that they initially got the other half of the population into the workforce, by sending our young men out to war.
Yep,
and then
World
you
War II.
had the women, have to take up those jobs here in the U.S. That's kind of like a way to almost force them into those positions. I mean, this has only happened in the last 2 generations. Like, if we think about it, and this is a conversation I have with my girlfriends my age, I'm 30, by the way. Can you guys think of, like, did any of our grandmothers ever work? Like, right?
My grandma did during the Great
Right?
Depression.
Yeah, like
was
there
like
might
12,
have
she
been
got a job or
rare instances, but it wasn't really a thing. And our mothers, like the generation before me, are really the only generation that were faced with this whole kind of being expected to be in the workplace, and also having traditionally all of the duties of taking care of a household.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so all of that, I feel like, created a bunch of distortion and like the whole thing with feminism and third wave feminism, whatever. And now we're at this point where it's like, we don't need that many people in the workforce anymore. What are we going to do? And now we have both sides, men and women, that have been in the workforce generation as something that is like normal. And now we have an overcrowding. So what do we do with that?
Oh, well,
right?
and then add in
we
AI.
we don't really have an overcrowding, but they say we have an
that's-
overcrowding.
yeah.
They say that there's way too many people in this world. We're already below replacement levels.
Yeah.
And I think the war on men and women is absolutely severe, and to me the start of a larger global war. And I've been alluding and talking about what you were just talking about, that essentially this release of this specific bioweapon to me was done deliberately, and it was the start of the larger kind of World War III, where the elites kind of have come together, and rather than, of course, just fight each other and use bullets, they use disinformation and they use bioweapons in order to try to get rid of as many people as they can. And they did get rid of a lot of people. So I said this actually in a members video about 2 weeks ago. I extensively went into it for about 20 minutes explaining my larger thesis on this. But as soon as the sickness came out in 2020, I was like saying, this is it. This is the start. This is something that there is a war on for your mind that's going to literally decide if you're going to survive this or not. And a lot of people who didn't have the right information made the wrong moves. They didn't survive. They made the wrong moves. They made the wrong decisions. They were isolated away from their family members. They were given horrible drugs that led to organ failure, as they were literally put on ventilators. And those combinations turned out to be deadly. And then they had the death numbers, and they used it to scare everybody. People died in motorcycle accidents. They were like, yeah, they died of the sickness there. You guys got to give us more power and more money. And you got to do all the climate change lockdowns that we wanted, that we never were able to pass through. We're going to implement that, and then that's going to keep you safe there, buddy. And then the people who didn't know what was going on acquiesced, listened, and this is why there's a big danger for this repeating. And this is why I think we need accountability. We need justice about this specific case more than ever. And if we don't get it, we're going to have to relive it once again, which a lot of people fear might happen under the Trump administration. I'm going to, before we go to you, Clint, in a little bit, I have the Trump story pulled up here. As of course, previously, I just mentioned how I wasn't really impressed with Donald Trump's answer when Tim Pool asked him directly what he would do with Dr. Fauci. But Donald Trump is raising a lot of money. This is one of the issues that he's still very weak on, but it's fair to say that what's happening to Donald Trump is a travesty of injustice. What he is being put through is absolutely crazy, and I think we need to still provide good information about this subject. We need to keep this conversation going, especially with a potential Donald Trump presidency that hopefully won't be repeating a lot of the mistakes that they made the first time around.
Well, just to wrap the last topic, just to add fuel to the conspiracy theory fire, Victoria Nuland, again, under direct inquiry to Marco Rubio about a year ago on Capitol Hill, said that like a big part of the Russia-Ukraine war was the bio research facilities in Ukraine. So this is not all just like...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's true. You can look it up.
The Ukrainian bioweapon facilities are another kind of like big eye-opening kind of situation that a lot of people kind of swept under the rug. But yeah, we were financing it because Ukraine was a very corrupt government that you could go to and say, hey, Mr. Oligarch, we'll pay you a little bit of money. We're going to do bioweapons research here.
Well, and keep in mind, too, that those labs existed because that was where the USSR used to do that research during the Cold War. So those labs were just sitting there. So then our CIA or whoever, our State Department, they just go, hey, you got some labs here. Like, we're already paying your government basically to stay open. So we're going to use these. And they did. And Victoria Nuland testified as such. And still, if you point that out and you go like, hey, maybe that's what's up. Like
you learn something new
go,
every day.
No. How dare you?
One of the things you asked earlier is what do you do with all these people that are unemployed and have no purpose or whatever is one of the things I see is you can harvest their body heat to generate electricity. And I think that may literally be
literally the Matrix.
And then that leads towards a technocratic matrix, which is disconcerting. It's better than war in a lot of ways, but also it's better than mass die-offs from disease or starvation, but like terrifying that people could be not necessarily plugged into, like we might be able to make shirts that harvest our piezoelectric body heat and generate an electrical charge.
It's sad, the lack of faith in humanity that these oligarchs have, that these people that kind of, run the world have in humanity. The fact that, AI has been created, but they don't have faith in the creativity of the human mind to continue to expand and innovate and find uses for us and for it and for things for us to do. I absolutely believe that that's why, at least as a conservative, we trust in the fact that if people have freedom to express themselves, to create businesses, to just do things that are new, instead of like putting red tape and barriers to this, that is what will be the solution to this overcrowding and overpopulation. I mean, if you guys, they say all the time, like, oh, we're overcrowded. Have you guys like driven through the United States? I know I have driven a lot, right? And I think that we're still like not maximizing the potential of our homeland.
That's exactly how you unwind the censorship game, because what's happening is whoever's trying to centrally plan the future is attempting to subvert or censor away these radical new ideas of change. But the thing is, if you allow for these radical ideas of change, you'll be able to prevent the chaos. So like we could build systems where you generate your own electricity just by walking around, just by your own body heat. But if we're not allowed to talk about the problems, then we're not going to be able to guide people to the solutions. So human batteries 2030 will all be on Jeff Bezos's boat powering his yacht.
Dude, get in your pod, strap your VR to your head, have your little masturbation machine, and you're good to go. I mean, sorry, Ian, that sounds a little dystopic. I'm concerning.
A deviation.
That sounds kind of like Tesla. He's talking about piezoelectric energy and building it out of the ethers. That's what it sounds like.
I understand
it's kind of a Tesla kind of thing.
I understand what he's saying. I'm just saying it is also the plot to the Matrix, and that concerns me. I did want to give one pushback to the conservative movement broadly, because even Tucker Carlson has fallen prey to this, and I've heard many conservatives. There is going to be a major push amongst conservatives to ban AI, and I would really encourage you guys to.
I'm not for that. And
great.
I know a lot of people that are not for that. And
no, I know not all are, but I'm just saying.
I also don't believe in a TikTok ban, by the way.
Awesome. Me too.
Because that is, I feel like TikTok is less banned and less censored than Facebook, than Instagram, for example. Even though it's like
Instagram took down my microplastic balls T-shirt today, which is a little crude, but it's a horrible shirt that you should not get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Don't get it. And then Steph, we also have some.
We got the redhead libertarian saying the Rothschilds lead the women's empowerment movement in order to tax the other half of the population and get mothers away from their children.
I'm pretty sure that was the Rockefellers working
Josie,
with...
did you fact check that?
Edward Bernays.
Josie.
It's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Clint, I felt like you were about to make a sweet point.
I have to complete this point, because otherwise it sounds like I'm just chastising conservatives and I have nothing else to say. The point I'm trying to make is that if AI is as a revolutionary innovation as it seems like it's going to be, and I actually think that it is going to be, if you try and ban it in America, you will have your lunch eaten by the rest of the world, because I promise you the rest of the world is not going to ban this.
I
So
agree.
so that technology is going to go full exponential. Like, you will not be able to stop it. So if you stop it in America and you have China that's going for it, we will be destroyed. So do not
yeah.
fall prey to, like, we can't have AI truck drivers because we'll have too many people laid off. You're going to have to innovate around this
No,
thing.
but it's funny though, because that would be kind of like, banning being able to, get milk at like the grocery store because we want to keep the jobs of the milkmen around. What's funny is that the states where you still have these kinds of arbitrary like rules and regulations protecting random jobs, like only I think 2 or 3 years ago, I learned that in Oregon, you couldn't pump your own gas. Like somebody had to like do it for you.
You
And
can't do it in dirty Jersey either.
I'm like, what?
I kind of like it that other people do it. I think that's cool. In Europe, that's how it is. And this one Ukrainian girl, I saw her at the gas station, and I thought this girl was like a threat to me. I was kind of nervous because she came up to me. She was super weird. I was like, whoa, don't touch me, lady. Like she touched me, and she was like just trying to say like, please help me pump gas into my car. I was like, where are you from, lady? Like, why can't you do this? She's like, I'm from Ukraine. And this was just like a few months ago. And she was like, I just don't know. Like, there's usually someone who does this for me.
But it's
Women, am I right, Clint?
Yeah, I'd be like, get back on the front line, Olga.
But isn't it funny? It's in the leftist states where you have these protective bans to protect, jobs, whereas the conservative solution is always allow innovation.
Free market, I hope.
Yeah, free market values. And I know there's some differences between the Libertarian Party and like just conservatives in general. You can be socially conservative, fiscally conservative, and have a mix of that. But obviously, like we would be at a disadvantage if we didn't. I used AI this morning. I used Chatbox AI to like create an image, because then you can put that on a graphic and have a graphic to promote events instead of the old-fashioned method, which was Googling for a graphic that was relevant to what you're trying to like promote.
Right.
You could just have it like generated right there in 2 seconds.
That's the jobs economy. It frightens me, because the obsession with creating jobs can become a big problem. They'll say, you dig the hole, then you fill the hole back up, and we'll print a bunch of money with the Federal Reserve. We'll loan it to your government at interest so that you can pay them. And then we'll get our interest back, and we'll, as bankers, make tons of money off of you doing tasks that accomplish nothing. So we should focus on work-based economy, literal joules of energy that are being produced, whether it's humans producing heat, like that's a form of work. Literally, it's scientific work being produced. So, and that's something, not too critical of Trump, but he has talked a lot about jobs. So hopefully, I don't know, we brought up Trump again, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about him. Any president that obsesses over jobs. I want to not obsess over jobs. I want to kind of get people's minds away from making jobs and jobs and jobs, because you got to produce work is what you really need to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Value is what you're trying to produce, not even work. Like
a product or a service of value that somebody else will voluntarily pay you for.
Exactly.
Period.
But the only way you know how that actually is a product that has value is if you have a free market, because otherwise you have a centralized, basically totalitarian central planned economy. And it's like that is where you get those people digging the hole and the other people filling it. Like that doesn't happen in a free market, because no one would pay you to do that. So that's the key, is that you have to actually embrace free market economics.
And hopefully,
I know it sounds boring, but it's true.
And hopefully when Trump is back in the White House, we will hopefully have another chance at a booming economy and a chance at the American dream once more, because right now it looks a little bleak.
Yeah, and hopefully he learns his lesson around what happened in 2020. But the stuff that he's promising with Bitcoin is extremely key towards revamping this economy, towards growing this economy, and allowing the free market to thrive. Because if you allow all the tech entrepreneurs, all the people that have been building all this like hardware and software related to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and this new kind of technology that still is in its infancy phases, you have amazing and incredible potential here. So that's what I'm really excited with the Trump presidency. Him also freeing Ross is going to be a major deal breaker for a lot of people. I think for myself included. We have a couple more mysuperchats.com. Steph, go read them, and then just read them really quick, and then we'll go over
Not
some
a
other stuff.
joke says, who has better responses, Dr. Fauci or Chris Cuomo? # never apologies.
They're both delusional liars and crazy people who could never do any wrong. I think these people live in a totally different world, or I think they're deathly afraid of facing reality, because when they do, it's not a good reality to face, to understand.
If Fauci starts saying that he lied and starts saying that, I think his life is forfeit to the CIA. He's basically going to get offed. So he has to keep lying, whereas Cuomo can choose to be like Cuomo's not mocking Dave Smith while they're talking. He was basically listening to Dave and allowing him to humiliate him in real time. Fauci's just has to keep lying, or he probably feels he's going to get killed.
Yeah. Well, and I will say Fauci is much better, actually. Because he has a deep scientific understanding, he's able to obfuscate in a much more eloquent way than Cuomo, who's just like this Jersey doofus who can't possibly lie himself out of a paper bag. So, yeah, I would say Fauci. Fauci wins this round.
We also have Lego Lover 3900 saying, how do we as conservatives get estrogen out of the water and motivate the men to grow a pair and take our country back? How do we implement graphene? Sending lump from Atlanta. Driana is stunning.
You just gave Ian a boner.
I have an idea, but go for it.
So it's funny, right before we started the show, I was talking about what I recently learned about this year to filter my water. And I use this thing called, and I'm not promoting it, I don't get anything from this, it's called this Clearly Filtered. It's a brand that has like these filters that filter atrazine and a bunch of stuff. So you literally just fill your tap water into the bowl, and then you just put it in the fridge and you have clean water. And that's something that I feel has made a really big difference ever since I started using it. And apparently the company also creates like filtration systems, which you can put like under the actual like faucet instead of having to like pour the tap water in first. So there you go. That's a good start.
I had an idea about how to use graphene. You could use graphene nanotubes as delivery systems inside the body to deliver a mushroom called Pestiolopsis microsporae, which digests plastic and turns it into sugar. So there's apparently all these microplastics in the human testicles right now. That's a big problem. You need to somehow target the plastic with a mushroom that will convert it into sugar without the mushroom being dissolved and destroyed by the body. So these graphene capsules, basically these nanocapsules, can protect the mushroom as it's traveling through the system. I haven't done any research into it, but the thought came into my brain right before we went live and we were talking about it. So thanks for reminding me that we could use graphene as a delivery system for the mushroom.
Of course, Ian's solution is mushrooms.
And graphene.
So my solution is go lift weights, go work out, go eat a lot of red meat, which brings us perfectly to our sponsor today, and that is Anton's Land of Biltong. This is really incredible stuff. We love their products. I think they also started to make teas. Steph, can you bring us some of the teas over here? Because then we could show them. But we really like this company. They're a family-owned company. They're a snack, low in carbs, packed with protein. And biltong is really the ultimate health snack. It is a great source of iron, also serves as a source of several other essential nutrients, including magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins, which translates into exceptional gains in all aspects of life. If you follow any high-protein, meat-based diets, biltong should be an essential part of your diet. Use promo code WRC for free shipping. BiltongUSA.com. We're also going to be putting it in the chat room as well. And I really do like this stuff. All of our guests really like this stuff, and we pay Clint exclusively just in biltong. He loves it too.
I am built on biltong. Use code WRC at BiltongUSA.com. Get yourself some free shipping. I'm going to eat some right now just to prove this is the only compensation I receive, so I better enjoy it, right? No, I absolutely...
It's good stuff. I tried
absolutely
it.
love
it's
biltong.
Actually good.
It really is.
Yeah.
I had to make a quick correction about the graphene delivery system real quick. I
Please
said that
do.
you would use graphene nanotubes to deliver it. You'd actually probably use C60 graphene buckyballs. They're little graphene balls. So that's how you would encapsulate the fungus and then send it where it's got to go.
So yeah, a Land of Biltong. Maybe you can make some of Ian's products, but they just started to make teas. These are their teas that they also sent us, and they're pretty damn good. I had some of the teas myself. I really do like this product. We're not just hacking it because we're working with them. Truly, we're very happy to be working with them, and truly they are an incredible product that I think you guys would love. You guys would enjoy. Again, promo code WRC. And the link to him is in our description and in the chat room right now, as our producer is putting it in there for you conveniently. As now, we're going to be transitioning off to the land of free speech, a platform that we can't even mention here on this particular platform, because when we do, our engagement literally goes down dramatically. But this is the platform. We're going to pull it up right now, and we are right next to Don Jr. So you go on the front page of this platform, and we are right in between Don Jr., who's live right now, and the Quartering. Shouts out to the Quartering. He's awesome, too. Don Jr., great, too. We interviewed him before, and we're going to ask him to come on the show once again. So, yeah, the conversation continues. We're going to be going off of these censorious platforms that punished people for correctly correcting Dr. Fauci, and we're going to a platform that allows actual legitimate free speech. So see you over there. Before we move over, Driana, where can people find you?
Yeah. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, although that's super censored, Driana Sixto. So at Driana Sixto, there is no other Driana Sixto, Driena Sixto, in the entire planet that I know of. So it'd be pretty easy to find me. Google me, Driena Sixto, and you'll find all of my stuff and maybe some hit articles.
Yeah, Clint needs the extra iron for all the big bodacious ladies that he spends time with at the beach. Iron, that's a big one, especially if you're a busy man like Clint.
Dude, picking up them plus-size Disney broads. Thank God for Biltong. That's all I have to say. At Liberty Lock Pod, like Liberty Lockdown Podcast, that's what it stands for. Just, at Liberty Lock Pod, just 139,000 of you savages on X. I really appreciate that. I am going absolutely ballistic. Ever since I lost the VP, I am totally unshackled. I get to say whatever I want without worrying about hurting anybody's feelings. So everything I put out goes viral now. So if you aren't following me, you're dumb. At Liberty Lockpod on X, Liberty Lockdown's the show. You can find it on YouTube, Apple, everywhere else. But most importantly, pick up your effing phone right now and search for the best political show in your favorite podcatcher, as well as Liberty Lockdown. Click subscribe so that you never miss an episode. That's it.
I think you're pretty smart. Ian?
I think Clint's really smart.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm voting for you for president,
No.
man, even if you're not on the ticket. No, I'm just kidding.
Right in Clint.
I'll probably vote for somebody that's on the ticket.
Dozens of people have
Please vote for
DM me
someone that's
saying
on
that
the
they're
ticket.
Point your people to whoever you want to win now. You can follow me at Ian Crossland, and I'm kind of, although I'm into alarmism, I'm into pointing out problems, I'm very focused on solutions. So if you like solving problems, follow me all across the world on any platform here and there, X, YouTube, list goes on, Facebook, this next big green machine we're heading over to, Minds. Catch me there, Ian Crossland. See you.
And this is Steph We Are Change. You can find me on Instagram at StephWRC or Steph We Are Change on X.
All right, we still got a whole bunch of comments to make about Dr. Fauci that we were not allowed to make, that we're going to make very quickly. We're going to talk about how the Republicans might potentially win this election. Lots of insider information as well. FBI plus a crazy attack in Germany.